Hi, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I'm back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation that I've received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. All right, let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number 1. Hi, Nick. Do you think it's a good idea to wear a weight belt or waist trainer in the gym? Okay, well, a weight belt and a waist trainer are two completely different things, right? So a waist belt is usually used by powerlifters or bodybuilders when they're performing heavy compound movements, such as a barbell back squat, a barbell deadlift, a clean and jerk. So usually heavy movements, heavy compound movements that involve multiple muscle groups, right? So I think weight belts have their place. I wouldn't recommend using them on all your exercises. I've mentioned in the past that I personally like to use a weight belt when I do barbell back squats. If I'm at a commercial gym doing a leg workout with a friend, I might do, say, hack squats or a leg press, and then I'll use the weight belt as well. Essentially, I'll use a weight belt when I'm lifting more than double my weight. Okay. But for most exercises, like I wouldn't wear a weight belt doing an arm day, or I wouldn't wear a weight belt doing chest day or shoulders or any of that stuff, because I don't think it's necessary. I think it's important too that if you are going to wear a weight belt, that you make sure you get fitted correctly for the weight belt you're wearing. Ideally, it should be fairly tight. You should be able to put one finger in between your waist and the belt. That's how you know it fits well. The same thing, you put the one finger in the back of the weight belt, and you should be able to get one finger between the belt and your lumbar region. That's a good idea to make sure the weight belt fits correctly. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you strengthen your core. Okay, so I think what happens when you see a lot of people wearing weight belts in the gym is they don't have a strong core. So if you're relying constantly on the weight belt, you're never going to strengthen your core naturally. So that's why I don't recommend using a weight belt for every single exercise. And when you do wear a weight belt, it really should be only on the exercises that you need it on. As I mentioned, barbell back squat, maybe some heavy hack squats, some heavy leg press and deadlifts. That's about it. Everything else, you should be trying to strengthen your core naturally. Now, as far as a waist trainer is concerned, the waist trainer is a little bit different, because a waist trainer, the whole idea behind a waist trainer is it's supposed to actually make your waist a little bit tighter and smaller. When these first hit the market back in about 2009 or 10, I was a little skeptical about them. However, over time, I've seen that they've actually produced some results for people, especially women, when it comes to competing in bikini, fitness, and physique. So I have noticed that they do work. The problem is, for them to work efficiently, you have to wear them all the time. You can't just wear them in the gym. So they kind of act like a corset, right? And what I believe the ideology behind a waist trainer is, it teaches you how to engage your transverse and rectus abdominals properly. So it doesn't necessarily make your waist smaller, but it gives you the illusion of a smaller waist, because you're now sucking in your midsection. You're practicing good posture. But again, as I mentioned, it's like wearing a corset all day, so it's uncomfortable. Right now, I have 3 women training for a fitness competition coming up in the end of November, and all 3 of them, I had them wearing waist trainers throughout the day, and they'll tell you it's not comfortable at all. They'll wear them at work, they'll wear them in the gym, and they don't wear them to sleep, but they'll wear them throughout the day. So, I mean, you're wearing them for a good 16 to 18 hours a day, but they do work. So they give you that illusion of a smaller waist. So I do advise a lot of my clients that they're trying to get better posture and they're trying to develop a little bit more tight core, to wear the waist trainers throughout the day as much as they possibly can. I personally don't like wearing waist trainers. I don't feel like I need to have a tighter midsection. I try my best to practice good posture on my own, and I do a lot of abdominal core work throughout the year, so I feel that helps as well. And I also do all kinds of core work when I'm working with bench pressing, squats, and all this other stuff. So I don't like to wear a waist trainer. But if you're trying to get a smaller waist, and or at least try to have the illusion of a smaller waist, I do think they have their place, and I do think they work. Actually, I know they work because I've seen the results on people who've used them for years. So I think they're great to use. But remember, a weight belt and a waist trainer are two completely different things. So take it for what it is. But my recommendation, if you want that illusion of a smaller waist, purchase a waist trainer. You can get them on Amazon, I think, for like 40 to 60 bucks. And if you're doing heavy compound movements in the gym, like barbell back squats, deadlifts, clean and jerks, I would recommend wearing a weight belt for those particular exercises, especially if you're lifting more than double your weight. All right, next question. Hey, Nick, my gym only has dumbbells that go up to 60 pounds, and I can easily bench press these weights for 15 reps. If I increase my reps, will I still be able to make my chest bigger? No, I would not recommend increasing your repetitions past 15 to try to develop a larger chest. What I would do though is use a little bit of a pre-exhaust system. So I don't know what exactly you have available to you in your gym, but let's say, for example, you have barbells available. I would start your chest workout off with an incline barbell press and then a flat barbell press, and then move on to dumbbells. So then you've pre-exhausted your chest. So by the time you get to those 60s, you're going to feel fairly heavy. Or if you don't have barbells, you could do some pre-exhaust with pec minor. You could do some dumbbell flies or some cable flies if your gym has cables available. So you pre-exhaust pec minor. So when you get to those dumbbell presses, you can isolate pec major. If you use a pre-exhaust system correctly and efficiently, that should be sufficient for you to hit those 60s and struggle for each rep. I've done that before when I've worked out at like hotel gyms, or I've worked out at gyms that don't have much equipment available. I'll use tons of pre-exhaust techniques. I remember once I was training for a show in Victoria, and we went to the hotel gym and they had dumbbells that went up to 30 pounds. So what I did was I started my workout off with a superset of push-ups and flies. And I did 4 rounds of that nonstop, push-ups and flies, push-ups and flies. And then when it was time to get to the pressing movements, even the 30-pound dumbbells felt fairly heavy for me. So that's when it's a good idea to use pre-exhausting techniques. Another great thing about using pre-exhausting techniques, you don't have to load up super heavy weight on any exercise, and you don't have to put any unnecessary strain on your joints. If you go to my Instagram, I recently posted a chest workout, and you'll see I actually started my workout off with flies. And the reason I did that was I didn't have a spotter for my bench press that day. There was no one really in the gym, so I didn't feel comfortable going super heavy on my bench press. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to pre-exhaust my chest, do some flies, and then by the time I get to an incline barbell press, I'm pressing 45 and 25 aside, which is usually not heavy for me, but after doing flies, that's actually fairly heavy for me. So it's a pre-exhaust technique, didn't need a spotter, didn't feel any strain on my joints, felt it all in the muscle belly, and I didn't have to go that heavy to get the most out of the exercise. So you don't have to lift super ridiculously heavy weights to get the most out of the movement that you're doing, okay? So no, I would not recommend increasing your repetitions past 15 to try to develop a larger chest. I would recommend using the pre-exhaust technique. If you're not sure how to use a pre-exhausting technique, you can head over to the App Store, download my coaching app, my online coaching app, Forever Fit Performance. And I've got a whole section that talks about pre-exhaust techniques. And I've also got tutorial videos on how to utilize those techniques into your workouts. If you have any questions with regards to pre-exhausting techniques, or you're looking to work with a coach online, you can always DM me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_, or email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com. All right, next question. Nick, I know bread is not a great food, but I honestly can't live without it. If I switch from white bread to whole wheat bread, would that be a bit better? Or does it make any difference at all? Well, first of all, you can live without bread. I haven't had bread in over 20 years. So you can live without bread. But if you don't want to live without bread, my recommendation is, well, first of all, is switching over from white bread to whole wheat bread better? Sure. I mean, it's more healthier, but I really don't think whole wheat bread is as healthy as people say it is. Okay, first of all, it's loaded in carbohydrates. Okay, so it's not like a great food source. And also, a lot of whole wheat breads are overly processed. So unless you're buying fresh, natural whole wheat bread, or if you're still buying it in the bag, it's processed bread. Okay, so it's not that much better. So is it better than that enriched white Wonder Bread crap? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, it's still processed. So my recommendation is, if you're going to buy bread, and this is what I tell a lot of my clients, is I'd rather you switch over to a bread like Ezekiel bread. You know, Ezekiel bread can be found in the frozen section of not every, but quite a few specialty grocery stores. So here in Vancouver, you're not going to find it at Costco, but you will find it at, let's say, a Nestor's or Whole Foods. And the reason why it's kept in the frozen section is because it doesn't contain any flour. So when you purchase it, you go to the frozen section and you put it in your freezer when you get home. They come individually sliced. You don't have to worry about breaking the bread off. You just pop it in a toaster. And like I said, I haven't had bread in 20 years, but for my clients who do have the Ezekiel bread, they compare it to like a squirrely bread. Okay, so they say it doesn't taste bad, doesn't taste great, but it's comparable to bread, especially if you start to get like an acquired taste for it. So you have to go through 2-3 weeks. Like I said, 21 days to develop a habit, 2-3 weeks of eating this bread, and then you'll most likely your taste buds will readjust. So if you're going to have bread, my recommendation is to use the Ezekiel bread. If you're looking for a low carb option, there's another bread called carbonal bread. That bread is not as widely available. I know they do have it at our Costco downtown Vancouver, but that might be something you have to look for online. because like grocery stores like Safeway, RGA, they don't really carry that type of bread. But that bread is very low in carbs. But my preferred choice would be an Ezekiel bread, only because it doesn't contain any flour. It has tons and tons of nutrients in there. So it's actually a much more good quality carbohydrate source to use. And if you do have any symptoms of IBS, or not even if you have any symptoms of IBS, but if you just have a problem digesting bread or flour as a whole, this bread works much better. Okay, so Ezekiel bread, check it out. It's in the frozen section. Google it online. You can read up all the nutritional value of it, but that's the bread that I've been recommending for the past 10 plus years to clients. Okay. Hi, Nick. I was wondering how much damage will 1 or 2 nights out a week of drinking and eating poorly have on my results. I'm pretty disciplined with my workouts and diet during the week, but tend to fall off the wagon on the weekends. Okay, so if it's 2 days a week, let's say you're having 6 meals a day, okay? You're looking at 7 days a week, that's 42 meals a week. Now, of those 42 meals, if you're having 12 of those meals that are bad, or you're missing meals on the Saturday and Sunday and the weekends, like you say, that is going to mess up your results in the long term. Same thing if you're drinking, right? If you're doing heavy drinking, well, the heavy drinking, what's that going to do? Yeah, you're drinking maybe on, say, Saturday or Friday and Saturday, but the time you get to Sunday, you're hungover, so you're going to miss a few meals. You're probably not going to be feeling as good, so you might miss a workout, or you go to the gym, won't be as an intensive workout. So now all of a sudden, that's going to affect, your Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that even leads on to Monday, because I have a lot of clients that like to go on the weekends. I notice when I see them on Monday morning, they're still not up to par. They've already missed a meal because they're not hungry. They're still a little bit hungover, especially my clients who are 40 plus years old. They don't recover as fast as they used to recover from a night of drinking when they were in their 20s. So that will now affect a 4th day, right? So that 2 days of drinking can easily go to 4 to 5 days of affecting your results, because it'll affect how you feel and how you train and how you eat. So yes, it can affect your results. My recommendation is try to scale that back to once every 2 or 3 weeks, okay, as opposed to on a weekly basis. But that shouldn't have much an effect, right? So at least you're staying on par for the most part. I'm all for people having a cheat meal once, maybe twice a week, but I'm not for the binge drinking, 2, 3 times a week, or even once a week. I don't think that's good, simply because A, it's bad for your liver, terrible for your kidneys, but also it's going to affect what you do long term, because it's not just 1 day or 2 days of drinking. That will easily transfer onto 3 or 4 days of how you feel, how your body digests food, how just overall you train in the gym. I've seen it before. Very few people can recover from 2 nights of heavy drinking and shitty eating, like having the pizza, the burgers when you're out after a club or out at the bar, right? You don't want to eat clean food. So it takes a while for your body to recover from something like that. And like I said, especially if you're 40 or even if you're in your 30s. I mean, I'm in my 30s and I notice one night out drinking, I feel it for 2 or 3 days. So that's why I try to cut that back now as I get older, because my recovery is not as good as it was when I was in my 20s. So I wouldn't recommend doing it twice a week. If you want my honest opinion, I think it will have an effect on your results. I would scale that back to once every 2 or 3 weeks. And again, everything in moderation, right? I mean, if you're going to drink, at least try to stay on par with your diet. That's the one thing I've always said, is every time I've gone out to drink, I really make sure I have all my clean foods ready to go. So if I come home at night, rather than go for the pizza and burgers or fries and cake and all this crap, I have a meal ready to go. Okay. So that's important too. So as long as you can somewhat stay close to the diet, it shouldn't have an effect on your results, but scale it back to once every 2 or 3 weeks, and you should be able to maintain your results and even achieve more results with your physique as you continue along with your health and fitness goals. Hey. Hi, Nick. Why are my legs always so much sore when I train them with you as opposed to when I train them on my own? I feel like I still train intense on my own, but they are never nearly as sore the next few days when I train them on my own. It's probably not because you're not training them intensely enough. It could just be the sequences you're using. Okay. So one thing is, when I train people in the gym, whether I'm training someone in a private session or in a partner session or in a small group session, I always follow a sequence. Sometimes I mix up that sequence, but as I always tell my clients, the sequences have to make sense. The circuits have to make sense. You can't just throw anything together and say, oh, well, let's see what this does. So usually when I'm training people on, say, a leg day, I might give them what I call a triple squat circuit, which is 3 different squats, and I'll give them no rest in between. They might do a barbell back squat with a ball wall front squat, and then I might finish off with a sumo Bosu squat. So they're working different areas of the quadriceps, because as you know, the quadriceps have 4 muscle bellies in them. And then I might throw in something like a reverse barbell lunge with a step up and then finish up with a hip thrust. So they're working the front of their quads, the straight leg deadlifts, or the back of their hamstrings, and then throw in some hip thrusts, right? Sorry, I meant to say put in reverse barbell lunges with straight leg deadlifts and then finishing up with hip thrusts. So that would be quadriceps, hamstrings, and glutes. Right. So that'd be another circuit. So whenever I make a circuit for someone or for a group, it has to make sense. So if you're doing circuit training, just make sure your sequences make sense. If you're doing basic straight set, incorporate tons of drop sets. So, if you train with me at the private training facility that we have downtown or in Burnaby, you have the luxury of circuit training. But if you're in a commercial gym, you can't really circuit train. I mean, you can, but it's kind of an asshole thing to do, especially if the gym's really busy. You don't want to occupy 3 or 4 pieces of equipment, right? So if you're doing a basic straight set, that's fine. But at the same time, you want to make sure that you give your body that 45 seconds to a minute rest max. And then at the end of each set, throw in a triple drop set. That's a great way to train your legs. So whenever I train at a commercial gym, if I was doing, let's say, a hack squat machine, my last set number 5, let's say I'm doing 4 plates aside, I would do a quadruple drop set. So 4 plates aside for 10 reps, 3 plates aside for 10 reps, 2 plates aside for 10 reps, 1 plate aside for 10 reps, nonstop. And that's a really good way to burn out. And the reason I would do that is because I wasn't circuit training. So I thought, well, how can I, maximize my time in the gym if I'm doing basic straight set training? And that's how I would do it. And that's how I still do it to this day if I travel to commercial gyms from time to time. So you don't have to circuit train, but if you are going to basic straight train, just make sure that your sets are intense, that you're not resting long, which means no cruising Instagram. I talked about this before, no selfies. You're in and out of your rest periods, 45 seconds to a minute, and that time should be spent resting or changing your weights. And then you're right back into a set again, off the phones. So I'd have to look at what you're doing on your own to really critique it. But that's my recommendation is if you're doing basic straight set training, throw in triple drop sets, quadruple drop sets, don't rest long in between sets, train with heavy weight that you can get at least 10 to 15 reps with, and your legs should be sore for 3 to 4 days afterwards. Okay, next question. Nick, what do you think about high intensity workouts? I'm thinking about joining a few classes with my coworkers, but I'm not sure what to expect. I'm not a fan of high intensity workouts. I never have been. And here's the thing, they can be addictive. A lot of people are like, oh, this is intense. The trainer's killing me here. And I feel so good afterwards. And, I'm sweating like crazy. My muscles are sore and everything's, I just feel so energized after. Well, that's great. But the problem with high intensity workouts is you can only go so long on those type of workouts. And what I see a lot of people do is when they do these high intensity workouts, they usually get injured. Okay. Life is stressful enough, whether it's your job or your relationships, whatever's going on in your life, that's already stressful enough. So if you're going to a very intense, stressful workout, that's just going to add more stress onto your body, which is going to elevate cortisol levels, which we don't want to do. Right. So I'm not a fan of those high intensity workouts for that reason. Another reason I'm not a big fan of them is I find they incorporate a lot of ballistic movements, that you do like say 100 burpees and you do jumping jacks and you do these clean and jerks. And I feel what that does is puts unnecessary strain on the joints. It's very similar to CrossFit in a way, right? And most people know I'm not a fan of CrossFit as well for that reason, because it does put a lot of strain on the joints and tendons. And here's the thing, if you look statistically speaking, look at all the people that get injured in CrossFit. There's the same amount of people getting injured in these high intensity workouts. So that's why I like to use a bodybuilding split. Now, bodybuilding splits are still intense, but you're controlling the tempo of the workout. There's nothing that's explosive. There's nothing that's ballistic. Right? There's nothing that, oh my God, I'm going to die. No, it's like controlled repetitions. As I said, 10 to 15 reps. You rest that 30 to 45 seconds to a minute in between sets. Everything is controlled. Your tempo speed is a 1-2 up, 1-2 down. You're breathing out on exertion, breathing in on the down phase or the in phase, the easier phase of the movement. And that's why people don't get injured in bodybuilding splits. Again, knock on wood, I haven't had an injury, a serious injury, in over 20 years. Actually, I've never had an injury. And the reason I've never had an injury is because I listen to my body and I train smart in the gym. And again, knock on wood, I don't have any clients that have suffered a severe injury in the gym while working with me. And again, I attribute that to following a moderately intense workout. The workouts are still intense, but you don't have to be almost on death's door to have a good workout. And I think what happens is a lot of these people who do these so-called high intensity, hardcore workouts, it's almost like an addiction. And it's just like, they feel like they're getting the best results from these workouts. But the reality is you're not getting any better results than someone who's following a bodybuilding split and controlling the repetitions and controlling the tempo of their workout. So if anything, you're probably not getting nearly as good of results as someone who's actually controlling the weights and the tempo of the workout, because they're stimulating the muscle groups, not annihilating the muscle groups. And yeah, that's another quote from Lee Haney, 8-time Mr. Olympia, but I'm a true believer in that. Like, you need to stimulate the muscle groups. You don't need to annihilate them. So I don't do high intensity workouts. I don't believe in them. I think they're kind of ridiculous. I know a lot of people love them, but I also know a lot of people get injured in them. So if you want my recommendation, I'd stay far away from them, and I would follow a typical bodybuilding split. Okay. Hi, Nick. The company I work for is giving us $3,000 each to put towards our fitness. Would you recommend I use this money to join a gym or towards hiring a personal trainer? I would like to work with you, but I live in Toronto. Thanks, Nick. Well, for the record, you can still work with me if you live in Toronto. You can join my online coaching app, and you can work with me directly through that app. I'll provide you with a customized training program, customized nutritional plan, and we can work together. I would design your workout based on the gym that you're using. So based on the equipment that you have available to you. So you can work with me regardless if you live in Vancouver or not. But anyway, to answer your question, if that were me, it really depends on the type of personality you are. So if you're someone that knows that you're going to go to the gym, you're going to be accountable, you're going to be training on your own 3 to 4 times a week, you don't need someone there to motivate you and guide you, I would join a gym. I would put that money towards joining a gym for a year. You'll probably have some money left over, and you can put that towards food and supplements. But if you're someone who struggles with motivation to get yourself to the gym, and you know you can't hold yourself accountable, or you don't really know how to lift weights correctly with proper form and technique, I think that money would be better spent hiring a reputable and knowledgeable and experienced personal trainer. Okay, because that can make a world of difference as opposed to just going in the gym on your own, not really having a game plan, and just trying to figure it out as you go. That's not a smart way to train. It's not an intelligent way to work out. So it really depends on your personality type. So for me personally, with that money, what I would say to somebody, like, if someone was coming to me and say, hey, what should I do? I just got $3,000. Should I put this towards working with a trainer, or should I put this towards a gym? I would say, again, well, what do you want to achieve? What type of personality are you? Like, are you someone who is self-motivated? You're going to be going to that gym 3 to 4 times a week on your own? Or are you someone who knows you're not going to do that, and you need to have that scheduled meeting, scheduled appointment? Okay. Also, what's your fitness? What's your level of fitness? Right? Are you someone who's new to the gym? Are you someone who's worked out before and you know how to lift weights? So that really makes a difference too. But I honestly think everyone can benefit from working with a reputable, knowledgeable, and experienced personal trainer. And I think I've seen it with people who get results and people who don't get results, because a lot of people will go to the gym, and if you've ever worked out at a commercial gym, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They'll do a set, and then they kind of sit on their phone for 3 to 4 minutes, cruising Instagram, and then they go on to their next set, and then they wander aimlessly throughout the gym looking for the next exercise to do. And if you're working out in a very busy commercial gym as opposed to a private training facility with your personal trainer, you're going to run into problems of having to wait for pieces of equipment, or you're not going to be able to use that piece of equipment because there's already a lineup for that particular piece of equipment. Try getting a squat rack at 5 p.m. during a weeknight at any commercial gym. It's a joke. So the great thing about working with a personal trainer is you're going to work with him or her at their private training facility, so you're not going to have to wait for a squat rack. So yes, you pay more for that type of service, but in my opinion, it's worth it. Okay, it's kind of like comparing a high-end restaurant to going to McDonald's. Like, you're going to get food either way, but you're going to get a better experience at the high-end restaurant. So it's really hard to compare the two. It would really come down to the type of person you are, your personality, if you're self-motivated or not, and if your training experience, your fitness level. So those would be the factors I would take into consideration, deciding on whether or not you should join a commercial gym with that money or hire a reputable, knowledgeable, and experienced personal trainer. My recommendation, go with the trainer. Okay. Hi, Nick. Is it necessary to prepare all my meals for the week at once if I want to follow one of your diet plans? It's not necessary. But over the years, what I find is that people who prepare ahead of time when it comes to their nutritional plans are the ones who are successful on their nutritional plans. The people who kind of leave it to the last minute or try to cook meal by meal, they usually falter. And the reason why is it's hard to prepare each meal by meal when you have a busy schedule. So if you're someone who works at home and you know that you can actually cook each meal fresh, perfect. Or if you have someone who can cook your meals for you, sure. But if you're like me and you're constantly on the go, what I typically do, I'll cook up 42 meals in about an hour and a half, and I'll just throw them in my fridge for the week, microwave them as I go. That's what works for me. Number one is I like to cook my own food. I don't want someone else cooking my meals. I like to cook my own food. I'm kind of like a control freak like that. I like to know exactly what's going into it, and I enjoy cooking it. And number two is because my day is so busy, usually starts from 5 a.m. and ends at like 9 p.m., 10 p.m. I don't have time to cook each meal. So I know that if I left it up to my own devices and say, well, I'm just going to wing it and I'll just try to cook each meal as I go, that wouldn't work. And I'd be ordering from Uber Eats, skip the dishes, and so on. So this is why I recommend preparing your food ahead of time. You don't have to cook 42 meals like I do in one sitting. You can kind of cook maybe say 12 meals for 3 days and then cook another 12 meals in the middle of the week and so on. You can do that. I've got people that do that as well. That works, right? But if you're just trying to go day by day, meal by meal, I've yet to see that work with anyone that I've worked with. I'm sure there's people out there that can do that, that have the luxury of time on their side, or maybe they have their husband or wife, or maybe they have a private chef that can cook each meal for them. Great. But if you don't have that luxury and time is not on your side, I strongly advise you to prepare all your meals ahead of time, or at least prepare half of them at the beginning of the week and the other half of them in the middle of the week. Because surely you can find an hour and a half to 2 hours of your week to put towards meal prep. It doesn't take that long. As I mentioned in the past, when I'm preparing my meals, I'm not in the kitchen for 2 hours. My chicken is on this, my chicken is in the oven. My turkey is on the stove. My yams are on the stove. My rice is in the rice cooker. So really, it's all just cooking itself. And when it's ready, I just divide it all up, use my food scale. It doesn't take long. So, and the more you do it, the better you get, the more efficient you get at doing it. Because honestly, it takes me no longer than 90 minutes to cook up 42 meals, and that's for the whole week. The only thing I leave from a day-to-day basis is my oatmeal, because oatmeal takes like 3 minutes in the microwave or even on the stovetop. So it takes no time. So oatmeal I make on a day-to-day basis, but all my other food I make once a week. So I would advise you to prepare your meals ahead of time. Is it necessary? No. But if you want to be successful on your nutritional plan, in my experience, most people who prepare their meals ahead of time are the ones that succeed, whereas the people who don't prepare it ahead of time are the ones that usually falter and fail. Okay. Next question. Nick, one of my employees is very overweight and doesn't take care of her health. I always see her eating junk food around the office. I'm thinking of buying her a personal training package with your company for Christmas. Do you think this might come across as a bit rude or something that would be beneficial for her? Good question. So that's interesting because I've had clients do this before. They've bought a personal training package for a gift card for a husband or their wife or one of their kids or a coworker, employee, so on. And it's kind of hit and miss. And the reason it's hit and miss is because it can come across as offensive, especially for someone who doesn't really go to the gym. It's like you're trying to tell them something like, hey, I'm worried about you. You're overweight, you're not healthy. I think you should go see a personal trainer. Here's a gift card. So some people might take that the wrong way. And other people might think, wow, I really appreciate this. I really appreciate that you're looking out for my health and my well-being. And maybe that person can't afford to work with a trainer and they'd be very grateful for that gift. So I think it's kind of a tricky question to answer because I don't know the personality type of this individual that you're referring to. But with that said, I've had people in the past purchase training packages for a friend or loved one. And what's happened is that person usually will come to the gym because they've got this gift card. Maybe it's for a 30-session training package. And, we'll definitely refund these sessions if the person doesn't want to use them. But what usually happens is the person does come around. Now, they don't come around right away. So if you get that package for someone at Christmas, they might not come see us till March or April. But they have it in the back of their mind like, hey, now I've got these personal training sessions to use. Why not just, go into the gym and work with a trainer in a private training facility, so it's not that intimidation factor that you would get from a commercial gym, which a lot of people who are not used to the gym or don't even go to the gym, that can be a very intimidating process to sign up for a commercial gym and walk into that gym and everyone's in great shape and the music's blaring and people are lifting heavy weights. That can be very intimidating for someone who's never been to a gym before, or for someone who has been to a gym but hasn't been to a gym in a long time and has kind of let themselves go. So I think working with a trainer in a private facility is a great idea, but whether or not that will come across as rude or insensitive, that really depends on the person you're giving it to. But again, in my experience, it's usually worked well because I think actually every single person that has bought a training package for a friend or loved one, coworker, employee, those people have come to work with us over the years and they've stayed with us, right? So I think it's a great gift to give. But again, you kind of have to know the personality type and know if this is going to offend someone or not. But I think it shows that you're concerned about the person's health and their well-being. And as an employer, I think that speaks volumes. It shows that you're taking an interest in your employee's personal life, that you're taking a health interest, not like you're not prying into their personal business, but you're taking an interest, like you want to see them healthy, you want to see them fit, you want to see them be able to have a better quality of life. So I think this is something that can be incredibly beneficial. I can't see it hurting, but again, it's just knowing that personality type. But in my experience, I think it's a great gift to give. And I'm not just saying that because it's, money going into our business. You could spend that to go to any personal training company. But I think it's a great gift. It's a gift of health, fitness, wellness. You can't go wrong with that, personally, in my opinion. So if you're thinking about it, I would do it and see how it comes across. If anything, if it's with us, we will always refund the package, and then she's got that money to use as she wants. All right. One more question. Okay. Hi, Nick. I'm wondering if the women you train care if a man is in great shape or not. I have a decent body, but I like to eat and have a bit of a gut. I don't enjoy going to the gym, but I do like to bike the seawall when the weather is nice and go for long walks at least 3 times a week. I had this question come through on my Instagram a few hours ago. And so I added it in as the last question because I thought, it's actually a great question. And it's a question that I can't really answer for the women. So I actually put a poll up on my Instagram story that I'll bring up in a second. And we'll see what we're at right now as far as the stats. But I'll give you what I think from any perspective, whether it's man or woman. When you look at someone who has a gut, okay, it might not bother the person that's interested in you or that loves you. They still love you. They love you for who you are and so on. But for a lot of people, it shows that you're not disciplined in life, that you're not disciplined with your health. You're not disciplined with your fitness. So it might transfer into what else are you not disciplined in? Are you not disciplined with your career? Are you not disciplined with your finances? Are you not disciplined with your relationships? So a lot of people will look at someone who is out of shape or has let themselves go and just think, maybe it's not so disciplined, and that can be scary to get into a relationship with someone like that, right? But if you're with someone for a long time and they start to put on a bit of weight, the person might not care as much because they think, well, I love this person for who they are, and yeah, they put on some weight, but they're still a great partner to have. They're disciplined with everything else. Their career and their life is balanced, and I love being with them. So from a aesthetics point of view, again, I can't answer for all women, but the women I work with, I can tell you right now, a lot of them do care about if the men they're seeing or the man that they're with is in shape. And they don't have to look like Mr. Olympia and have bulging biceps and a 6-pack and veins sticking out of everywhere, but just decent shape. Because again, it shows that you take care of yourself, you take care of your well-being. It's like not grooming yourself properly, right? Not taking care of your hygiene. So you don't really want to be I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with someone who didn't take care of that. So I think it does show that if you do take care of your health and your fitness, that you're disciplined in other areas of your life. But I don't think it's a deal breaker for everyone. But if I look right now at where the poll stands, because I put this on my Instagram a few hours ago. So let's just see what the ladies have said so far. So right now, so the question I asked, I'll give you the question I asked. I said, do women you train care if a man has a gut? So the options were yes, no, doesn't bother me either way, and depends how big the gut is. So right now we're sitting at 67% say yes, 0% say no, 10% say doesn't bother me either way, and 33% says depends how big the gut is. That's what we're at now, and I put up that question about 5 hours ago. Okay, so it might be different within 24 hours, and we'll see. But I can tell you from working with people I train, and again, maybe it's going to be a biased opinion because don't forget the women I train work out. So it only makes sense that they want to have a partner that also works out and takes care of their fitness and their health. But if you're with someone who doesn't work out on a regular basis, they might not care at all, right? Because if they're not working out, if they're not watching what they eat, what the hell do they care what you look like, right? So maybe you should manage your own expectations. And if you're someone who's not really into going to the gym, maybe you should look for someone else who's not into going to the gym. Because chances are, if you're someone who's really into going to the gym and you're with someone who's not into going to the gym, not all the time, but sometimes it might not work, right? Because you guys have different values. So it's very different. But I just think that if you're someone who does have a bit of a gut or a large gut, it can show that you're not disciplined. And I think that can be a factor for a lot of people who look to partner up with someone, because they might see that and say, well, again, what else is this person not disciplined in? And that's not with everyone, but I'm just saying in my experience working with the women I work with, I know that's one of the factors they take into consideration when they look to date someone. So take that for what it is. Anyway, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Tuesday, November the 21st. If you have any questions with regards to your nutritional plan, training program, supplements you're taking, not taking, considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com or DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Reminder, Black Friday sale, which means Grizzly Grabbers back on sale. Okay. So Grizzly Grabbers, we usually sell these for $45 a pair. They will be on sale for $40 a pair, or 2 pairs for $70 at $35 a pair. If you'd like to order your pair of Grizzly Grabbers, email me, nick@foreverfitperformance.com, DM me on my Instagram, @fitcosgrove_, and I will either send you a pair in the mail, or you can come pick up your pair at our gym at our downtown Vancouver location or our location in Burnaby, Brentwood Mall area. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for supporting my business, and I will see you all next week. Bye for now.